with a quick show of hands, how many of you have read an article about the issues surrounding the United States-Mexico border? Okay, right. Now, how many of you have read an article from a Spanish-speaking, a Mexican news source about the border? Most of us have not, right? And it's because these Mexican news articles are written in Spanish. So this language barrier is making it that we are only getting one side to this complex story. The same is true as from what we have read about the Venezuelan crisis, Yemen, and the persecution of the Rohingya people in Myanmar. We are looking at global news through a very narrow English lens, and Spectra aims to solve this. So Spectra pulls articles from publications all around the world and automatically translates the content into English. With Spectra, you can read about Brexit from news publications based in France, Germany, and other EU countries, so that way you can read the different perspectives, compare the content, and get a fuller understanding of how this issue affects countries differently. Jacob will show you around the app and what it can do.
So at first glance, Spectra might look like just another news app. But if you take a closer look, you'll notice that a lot of our sources are actually from other countries. And this allows us to gain a broader, more global perspective. But global news isn't just what's breaking right now. What's really cool is our topics feed, where you can take a closer look at something you already know is going on or even discover something. So let's say you didn't know about Brexit. I think most people probably do. Or even if you do know about Brexit, you can go click on Brexit, and most of the articles that we're reading are probably from US sources or maybe UK sources. But as we see here, there are sources from Germany and France as well. So we can check out this German article, but when we first open it, it's in German. And I don't know if anyone here speaks German, but I don't. So I can't read this article. But if I go to the spec view, now it's in English. Now I can get the German perspective on what's going on. So I also don't know German sources. I can tap on this icon and get a little bit of information, find out that this source in particular happens to be conservative, but with a history of factual reporting, I can probably trust what it has to say.
So we've also integrated the Spectra app into a smart mirror right here, as you can see, in the way of a magic mirror framework. It takes the form of a feed of headlines from top global sources in the same way that the Spectra app does. So it's pulling the same news, just in a different format. So users can either choose to read these headlines as they are presented to them in a short form, say while they're brushing their teeth or doing their makeup in the mirror. Or if something were to pique their interest, they can scan the associated QR code with the articles, and that will open the article in the user's Spectra app, where they can either read it now in its long form or save it for later. So there you can see that on Jacob's phone.
Yeah, and again, even English articles, you can go into the spec view for a little bit of a better look at the article without the distractions.
Yeah, swipe me over.
Swipe. What do you mean swipe over?
So Spectra is integrating ourselves into the smart home to further accomplish our goal of making world news as widely accessible as possible. As you just saw, our first foray into the field will be in the form of a magic mirror widget. It will be quickly followed up by applications for smart speakers like the Google Home and Amazon Alexa. These will take a similar form as the mirror, although it will be spoken audio and will have different commands to push the article to your Spectra app. We really plan on making Spectra available on any smart home platform that will allow us, as it'll help us disseminate information even further. Along with that, all of our releases in the smart home will be released as free open source software, as we believe when we're dealing with something as intimate as a user's home, that transparency and trust between us and the user is incredibly important. We're not collecting anyone's data, and we can prove it. So, along with that, integrating with the smart home doesn't just further our goal of spreading global news or increasing the reach of our ecosystem. It also brings us alongside some of our competitors in the news aggregation space. Apps like Apple News, Google News, and Smart News. We really pull all of our favorite features from these different applications and platforms in terms of functionality, design, and quality of content, and then build on top of that base using our translation service and our curated global feed to provide our readers with a more holistic news reading experience, which we believe propels us above the competition. Now, Brian's going to tell you a little bit more about our business plan, although that's going to be a little shortened because you guys don't care as much.
Yeah, so I'm here to talk about business, and most of you guys probably don't care too much about business, so I'm going to keep it short. Spectra's going to use a $2 monthly subscription fee in order to allow users access to our app, website, and our smart home modules. We'll also initially avoid using advertisements to just focus on delivering users the optimal experience. For cost analysis, our costs are actually absurdly low. If the average user on our platform translates 10 unique articles a month, then the average monthly cost of each user will be around 48 cents. Each article that is translated on Spectra's platform will be stored within Spectra servers, allowing us to never translate the same article twice. This is important because it further lowers our costs. These are obviously base costs, but they don't include marketing and administrative expenses. And of course, as Spectra grows its user base, we will start to incur more costs. However, the monthly cost per user will continually decline as we grow our platform.
In news aggregation, relevancy is key, and so Spectra is using a unique combination of algorithms to ensure that the most relevant news is being delivered to our users anytime they're using our services. Eventually, Spectra aims to start a global conversation. Currently, we're translating news into English, but we'd like to grow our user base and make it more diverse by translating into other languages as well. We'd also like to take advantage of that diverse user base by allowing users to submit their own content as a supplement alongside articles from their country. With that, we think that Spectra's user base could become its greatest competitive advantage.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit about the customer segments for this. Spectra News obviously is not going to be the same as the demographics for people who get their news on Facebook and things like that, the social medias. Spectra is looking at people right now probably read The Economist, people who have a genuine interest in foreign affairs and geopolitics. They also might have some sort of a language background. So that second one, the language learners, we see a big potential for the European market here because of how close the countries are, and you might not know the language across the border there, but that news still affects you. And at the same time, more people are becoming more accustomed to fact-checking between sources, so we are targeting the fake news fighters as well.
Spectra currently has a first-mover advantage in the area of providing fully global news not limited by language barriers. I think this is really cool. It's amazing. Like, we can read news sources from other countries. So that's a big strength combined with our low costs and potential to scale up. Just provided Spectra with amazing opportunities for growth. Our current weakness happens to be our API reliance. We use two APIs, News API and the Google Translate API. However, in recognizing this weakness, we see an amazing opportunity for Spectra to start building its own news aggregation and translation services. Doing so would further lower our costs and provide us with more control over our product. Our main threats are small companies. Google, Apple, and other tech giants are the main competition in this market just because they have resources that we currently do not have. But Spectra aims to grow quickly, so maybe one day we'll be a name. Our main marketing strategy is to allow users to bypass the monthly subscription fee of $2 and instead invite 4 friends to try out the app. Because considering how low Spectra's operating costs are, our main priority is just to grow our user base. Initial profit is not as important as just building a solid user base of people from around the world. We're going to run social media marketing campaigns on social media platforms. And here's our projections for the future. By May, we plan to launch our iOS app. By July, we plan to launch our Android and website. By January, we are going to start allowing user-produced content on our platform. And then by the following year, we'll start building our own news aggregation service. And then the year after that, we will start building our own translation service. Then by 2023, we aim to start hiring our own translators and journalists just to allow Spectra to become a full-fledged news organization.
So we are in an age where we are being bombarded with news, yet foreign news bureaus are being cut left and right. So through Spectra, we want to make accessible the hard work journalists do worldwide. Spectra is not an app, not a website, but a news organization designed for modern journalism. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? We love questions.
Anything.
Anything.
All of them.
We're going to keep talking. We're not going to let Ebony just cut it short. Someone's going to have to say something.
We have a question over here.
Amazing idea, but how did you guys come about this idea?
idea. Like,
Oh, there you go. So you could be on there.
I said I think this is an amazing idea, but how did you guys like come to this? Like, do one of you speak a different language or?
So part of the reason this came about is because none of us speak another language, so we just saw this total blind spot in what news we were getting, and it was really interesting. We created this app during the Tiger Hacks competition, and yeah, so it was all created within 36 hours of just coding straight, so a fun time for sure.
Did we win, Brian?
What?
Did we win?
Yeah, we won that, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was also the same time as the Jamar Khashoggi. I can usually say this, like I read the news, guys. But while we were building this, we saw that Saudi Arabia had no articles about the killing, and if you went up to Turkey, who doesn't like Saudi Arabia very much, that was like the only type of content that we could see. So it was really interesting to firsthand see how governments are affecting their media and to witness that. Anyone else?
Yeah, so I saw you guys had like aggregated like Washington Post, New York Times, like organizations with paywalls. So how do you guys how does the app deal with like paywalls and like getting behind that?
So we're using News API and then an API to basically scrape the content from the web page. I'm honestly not entirely sure how we're able to do that. It just is working for us. Like I don't have a good answer.
Most aggregators, they have it up there until the Washington Post or the New York Times complains, and they say, hey, don't do that, and you reach some sort of agreement in terms of ad revenue. Like you saw when we originally opened the articles, it still opens it onto their actual website. It's just loaded into a mobile adaptive form. So they're getting ad revenue from that. So we see them, if it is a problem for them, I assume it will be, for those particular sources, they'll reach out, we'll come to an agreement, or we'll remove the Washington Post and the New York Times.
But they get money for people using our platform, so usually an agreement is made. Same thing happens with Flipboard, Smart News, Apple News. It's just about making agreements, and we love compromise. Crazy.
Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you.